God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Each week I purchase groceries for 2 food pantries and our own home. That means I can hit the grocery store as many as 6 times during the week, more if I've forgotten something on my shopping list. And I've been shopping at the same H-E-B grocery store for over 20 years. So I've gotten to know some of the people who work there. For instance, there's a young woman who rings up my purchases who's pregnant and due in September. She knows enough about me and my life to occasionally ask about Mark, although she's never met him. There's another worker who knows I bought a new car. She likes its color and wants one just like it. There are folks I know by name and others only by face, most of whom were toddlers when I first started shopping at that grocery store. There's something comfortable about the sense of community I've come to experience at a grocery store, of all places, after 20 plus years of shopping there. So you can imagine what it must have been like for the person in this morning's text who had been sick for 38 years, most of that time probably spent at the pool of Bethesda, known for its healing properties. Maybe someone dropped him off each morning, or maybe he had set up camp there alongside others who were also looking to be healed. Over the years, he probably had come to experience his own makeshift community at this first century equivalent to a hospital waiting room. It was said that it was an angel of God who descended from heaven and stirred up the water, causing it to move. And when that happened, the first one to make it into the water was healed of their infirmity. Maybe that was really what happened, but some say there was actually an upper pool that collected rainwater, which fed into the lower pool that was used for purification. The stirring of the water might be explained then as the movement of the water from the upper to the lower pool through an underground channel. So what we see then is a community of people who have been drawn together by their illnesses, each of them perched at the edge of the pool, believing in a legend that had been passed down from generation to generation. A legend that portrayed God as the sort of deity that would pit members of a group against each other and award the winner of the competition with the healing of their infirmity. Sounds kind of cruel for God to behave, but maybe not so different than ideologies today, which portray God as a God who touches the lives of some folks and not others. A God who approves of one group of believers who pit themselves against others, even though both are looking for the same miracle in their lives. Amy Butler points out that we're all grasping for a miracle of one sort or another. Healing of our hearts, relief from our pain, mending of the world, calming of the chaos. For some folks, they may experience that miracle on a Sunday when they take communion. For others, it may happen while joining together and reciting the Lord's Prayer. For still others, the miracle occurs when they hear the melody of a familiar hymn, like Amazing Grace or It Is Well With My Soul. But for others, it simply doesn't happen. That was the case for the person in this morning's text who had been sick for 38 years. No miracle had occurred in his life. It had been so long for him that he may have even forgotten the sense of passion and devotion that had brought him there in the first place. It had been so long, and he had gotten to know so many people that he may have begun to feel at home there on the edge of the pool. He had grown so accustomed to his circumstances that Jesus approached him. When he approached him, he asked, "Do you even want to be healed?" That's my emphasis on the text. It would seem that Jesus was onto his game and was maybe calling him out on it. So immediately he began to make excuses as to why he was there still waiting after 38 years. He had been waiting for God to fix him because that's the only way things could change in his life. Or at least that's what he had been told. And no one would help him get into the water quickly enough. It was their fault he hadn't experienced the miracle, not his. Please note that he never answered Jesus' question. Do you want to be made well? And maybe it's a question we need to ask ourselves. Do we really and truly want to be healed of our outrage, our resentment, or the loneliness in our life? Butler says that God is not a drive-through window at McDonald's. We can't drive ourselves in here every week plaintively lamenting our pain and wallowing in the hurt that keeps us sitting on the edge. But in fact, that's exactly what a lot of us do. We come to church every week to be healed, to have experiences of grace. We sit at the edge of resurrection, but never actually step into its waters. William Sloane Coffin addressed this contradiction when he wrote, "I think the central problem of the Christian church in America today is most of us fear the cure more than the illness. Most of us prefer the plausible lie that we cannot be cured to the fantastic truth that we can be. And here's a reason," he writes. "If it's hell to be guilty or sick or hopeless or despairing, it's certainly scarier to be responsible and to respond to God's visionary and creative love." I believe the miracle that the gospel writer records occurring at the pool of Bethesda wasn't that a sick man was healed. The miracle happened when the man let go of the lie that God was a God who only healed some people some of the time, and he was not worthy of that healing. The miracle was when he quit making excuses for his pain and suffering and instead embraced the resurrected life to which Jesus was calling him when he said, "Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk." So hear the good news of the gospel. God is still in the business of healing, and we are invited into the resurrected life, a life of hope and salvation. But the question is whether or not we will quit making excuses and instead respond to God's visionary and creative love. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.